Hi and welcome to 3 Calibers. I'm Stefan Norman. Today we're going to do something that is quite simple, I think, but I do run into a lot of people who are not familiar how to set up your scope on your rifle. You need a couple of tools for it. You need the tools of the right dimensions. A bubble leveler is really nice to have because you want to get the scope perfectly straight over your rifle. You need your rings obviously, and you need your scope. And the scope that we're going to zero is the Sightmark Latitude 6 by 25 to 25 by 56 PRS Latitude. Nice scope, good glass. The rings are QD Picatinny. So what you want to check first on the rings is that the pressure on the clamps are adequate. So you mount that on your rifle, and you want these to be snug. So this one was actually a little bit loose, I think. It's not too loose, but you want to check so it's snug, and you just press that in and you give that a little twist. Let's see if that's better. And you push it forward. Yeah, that's a little bit too tight. So it's just, you know, tiny amounts. Yeah, and that's good. So they're snug, they're not too easy to open, and not too easy to close. You can feel that they are actually gripping and putting pressure on the Picatinny rail. The next thing is obviously to mount the scope. Now you want to make sure that the screws come back to the same hole each time, because after you tighten them, they basically become a unit, and you want to put them in the same one each time. So be quite methodical about this. Just loosen them. Yep. So you can make sure that they end up in the same place. There. Alright, that's that. Next thing is to put your scope in the rings, obviously. And again, make sure to put the same screws and rings at the same place. Now I'm not going to tighten them yet, because first we want to align everything. And this is the important part, getting everything straight. Right, so what I'm trying to do now is make sure this is not too loose, but it's not too tight, so I can move the scope back and forth, and that's to be able to adjust my eye relief correctly for my eyes and my scope. And I'm trying to keep these gaps to the same width because I want everything to be as straight as possible. Now, now you want to make sure that the rifle is leveled. Luckily, I have a full-length Picatinny rail, which makes it a lot more easy. And now the bubble is completely centered, so that it's leveled a little bit more. Just there. And the easy way to do it now is basically to put the bubble leveler on top of your rifle, so that is centered. And the reason why this is important is because you want the reticle to move up and down, straight up and down. And if it's a bit canted, it's going to be impossible to be able to do the correct measurement. So that is now perfectly leveled with each other. So now it's time to tighten the screws. And what you do is you basically just, when you're tightening the tire of your car, you're going back and forth in a cross. And as I said before, you want to keep these gaps as even as possible to have the same pressure on the scope, and it will be straighter to begin with. Usually when I do this, I have a torque key to get the same pressure. Unfortunately, I didn't have a torque key in the right size, and it doesn't need to be over tight. It needs to be tight, but not too hard. That is plenty. Okay, so now the reticle and rifle lines up and everything is leveled. I always double check a couple times just to make sure if I needed to redo it. So that is leveled. Yes, everything is leveled. That's good. Now when we've done that, it's basically time to zero the scope. So that's the next step. And usually, before we even start to shoot, I just bore sight it. What you do is, if you can, I'll remove my cheek piece and I'll remove the bolt, and I'll just bore sight it for a bit. Now, there's many different tools for these lasers and everything to speed up the process. If you have one of those, great. If you don't, this is a very easy way to do it. So you have your target down range already set up. And you find your target. And that's pretty much in the center of the bore. Yeah, maybe just a tiny bit. Okay, so that's pretty much center of the bore. What you do now, check your scope. Yeah, I'm off 2 mils to the right and 1 mil low. So I'll adjust for it. 1 mil up and 2 mils left check. Sorry, I went the wrong way. 1 mil down. Okay, so that's pretty good. Reticle is now on target, and so is the bore. And next up is sending a few rounds down range. Better if I put the bolt in first. Just cheek piece. About there. That's good. Okay. There we go. So cheek weld is good. Eye relief is good. Parallax. Now parallax, oh sorry, not parallax, diopter is important as well. What you want to do is you want to make sure that the reticle is clear. We're not focusing the objective, we're focusing the reticle. I usually find it a little bit easier if I zoom in max, so I can just focus on the reticle becoming clear. That's clear. And then there's a little bit of a locking mechanism there. So now that diopter is locked in. And now we're ready to take our first shot down range to see where we are. Alright, so we're ready to take the first shot. Rifle's on safe. Rifle's loaded. Now, when you do this, make sure that the parallax on the scope is right. So what you want to do is zoom in max, and then you adjust the parallax for distance. And this is important because if you don't have the parallax correct, if you're not perfectly behind the scope each time, you will experience false windage and elevation shifts in your point of impact. So we're ready to take the first shot. I'm aiming dead center on the target, which is a 20 centimeter steel circle. Alright, here we are. So now you can see the target clearly. There's a little 20 centimeter circle, steel target, and we're 5 centimeters high and 5 centimeters to the right from center of the target. Now we're going to adjust for that on the scope. I'll show you how to do that. So we were 5 centimeters too high, so we're going to bring it down 5 centimeters, and we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's the elevation knob. Each click is 0.1 of a mil, and we're going to do the same thing for the windage. And as we were 5 centimeters to the right, we're going to bring the point of impact to the left, which is clockwise. So we're going to give it 5 clicks left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There. And now we're ready for the second shot. Alright, we're hitting the exact same spot. So we'll bring it down 2 more clicks and give it left 2 more. down one, go back a little bit to the right, there, that should be good. And that is absolutely perfect. So the rifle is now zeroed. And now we want to reset the turrets. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to reset the turrets.
Unscrew the cap.
As we're now zeroed. So what you want to do is you just unscrew the top cap without making the turret move. And then you lift it straight up, turn around,
go back to
so that the zero comes straight over this line, and you push it back. Can be a bit fiddly sometimes. There. And just press it down. And then tighten the screw. And then you do the exact same thing on the windage. Make sure they don't move when you loosen the screw. So they're somewhere safe. Pull the knob straight out, or the turret. And then fit it back with a zero straightly over the indication of the windage line there. There. And then retighten the screw. Done. And this model is quite simple. It's a little ring underneath the turret, and you want a tiny little Allen screwdriver for this, and it's very, very small. It's, let's see, just find the right tool. Yeah, it's a 0.9 millimeter Allen screw. You loosen that one. The second one. And a third one. When that is done, you move the ring until it stops against the turret. You can loosen it a little bit more. Alright, there we are. And then you retighten these three little screws. And your stereo stop is set. Now we'll have some additional travel on this one, and it's, in this case it's 2 mils, and that's absolutely fine as long as I know how much it is. And absolutely pinpoint zeroed on the same impact as we did before. Alright, so there we go. That's zeroed and ready. Now, a few things to think about when you're doing this. Make sure that your rifle and scope are perfectly in line with each other. Use a bubble leveler to make it easier. And if you have a lead sled, you can strap the rifle down so it doesn't move. It's going to be way easier. Apply the right pressure on the mounts. Follow the specifications in the manuals. I didn't have a torque wrench for this one. I suggest you get a torque wrench and follow the specs. That will always be the best. And then when you zero, if you know your rifle and you know what ammunition it likes, it's going to be easier. If you have a new rifle that you don't know what kind of ammunition it really likes, it might be a bit more of an experiment to get that perfect group, but you need to get a rough zero to begin with, and making sure that the mounts are correctly tightened and that the scope is correctly mounted will help you out to do that much easier. So, hope this was helpful. Thank you.